going on, everyone? Hope you're doing well. Hope this day hasn't been too bad for you. Maybe you're watching this at the end of the day. We only have a few more classes left. So today we're going to do what everybody loves, and that is another study guide, right? Come on. We don't work that hard in this class. There aren't that many assignments. So when there finally is one that might, make you put pen to paper, I get a couple complaints, but I don't think anybody. It's not too bad. It's not, a little bit of grumbling, no, but nothing too bad. Nothing too bad. So we have 10 new words on the board, and these are designed to just get you familiar with them. And then when you get to high school, you'll be like, oh, I think I remember that word. So it's just to build your vocabulary, help you read a little bit better, give you a little insight into what you might be seeing. So all these words come from an article we will be reading about a woman named Irena Sendler, and she is often called the female version of Oskar Schindler. Now, a lot of people your age might not know who Oskar Schindler is, but probably 20, 25, 30 years ago, I guess, there was a movie called Schindler's List, and that was about a man who helped save thousands of people who were Jewish from the Nazis. Okay. So she's like a smaller version. She doesn't save quite as many people, but she saves a good amount. And so when the Nazis come to persecute, one of our words, the Nazis, she's kind of like, she hides them. Not like in an annex or anything. We'll talk about what she does later, but it's pretty ingenious. So these are words that you will see in that article, and I thought they were kind of tough. So let's do it. And I think I have example sentences for most of them. And there are a couple words in here that I have trouble pronouncing. So hopefully I can do it first time correctly. Irrelevant. Ooh, irrelevant's a hard one, I think. So we'll talk about that. But before we get to that one, let's talk about this one. It's our first one, and it is persecute. Persecute. And you can see the definition is to mistreat a person or group on the basis of their beliefs. So come on. One of the first things you should be thinking of when you hear persecute, at least for what we are studying, come on, the Nazis, Jewish people. I mean, the Nazis had a whole bunch of people that they were persecuting, but obviously Jews were like the number one. But we also talked about the Roma. If you remember back to that, they at one time were called gypsies. I guess you're not supposed to use that word anymore. The Roma, they kind of roamed from city to city and maybe stole some things, some people thought, or whatever. So if you were gay, if you were a whole bunch of things. Nazis didn't like a lot of people. So they persecuted a lot of people, but it was 6 million people who were Jewish that took the brunt of it. Here's a sentence using persecuted. I don't think there are any typos here, but I wouldn't be surprised. If I see one, I'll mention it. Let me put my glasses on to make sure. No typos. The Nazis persecuted many people, but especially people who were Jewish. I think that's a fine sentence. But I came up with it myself. So it might be trash, but I liked it. The next one, ghetto. Ghetto. I will make it bigger. Now, you might hear ghetto used in a variety of ways, but for this unit, a ghetto is, during World War II, it was part of the city where Jews lived. Now, they didn't live in the ghetto at the beginning of World War II. The Nazis forced people who were Jewish into certain parts of the city. And the largest one was in Warsaw, Poland. We'll take a look at a map of that in a minute. But the Nazis forced Jewish people to live in ghettos. I don't think that should be capitalized, actually. Ghetto. There's the first typo of the lesson. Yeah. If I said like the Warsaw Ghetto, then yeah, that would probably have a capital G. But since it's just a random kind of generic ghetto, no capital G. Did I say C before? G. And the largest was in Warsaw, Poland. Just in case You don't know where Warsaw, Poland is? Make this a little bigger. So here's a map of all of Europe, and Netherlands, that is where Anne Frank was staying right there. Amsterdam. You have beaches of Normandy where D-Day started. Those are over here. And then way over here, way behind the Nazi line was Warsaw. And it was the largest. And Poland probably suffered the most. It's hard to say who suffered the most, but you got Russia over here. You got Germany over here. Basically, the Germans invade, push all the way through Poland, and eventually the Russians will push, or the Soviets will push the Germans back through Poland. Poland got really messed up during World War II, and their Jewish population, I mean, it's hard to say who suffered the most, but they suffered a lot in Poland. All right, so that is ghetto. Let's go back to this. What is our next word? It is unearthed. Unearthed. So when you hear earth like this, think of not the planet, but kind of like the dirt on the planet. So unearthed, when you see un at the beginning of a word, it means the opposite. So it basically means to be dug up. But I have a sentence where it doesn't mean dug up. Let's look at the definition first. Unearthed, uncovered, to dig up from the ground. So I have two sentences here for you because literally it could be you're digging something up from under the ground. Maybe like if you know Indiana Jones, I think there's a new Indiana Jones movie coming out this summer. Well, he was an archaeologist, and a lot of times he was digging up things. He was unearthing things. But sometimes unearthed can mean like discovering a secret or something like that. Okay. So how about this? The investigation unearthed a lot of secrets. So it's like discovered, but it could literally mean, you're digging something up from the earth. So back at the site, they had unearthed a skeleton. So I returned to help excavate it. Excavate is like literally mean to dig up, but they're almost the same thing. Unearthed, excavate. Hope that helps. Unearthed. Kind of a tricky one. There's two very different definitions for that. The next one, get rid of that. This is the one I have trouble saying, but irrelevant. Irrelevant. Having nothing to do with the subject. Irrelevant. So maybe there's an investigation, maybe like a murder investigation. Let's make it really, really high stakes. So there might have been a person just like hanging around doing nothing at the time. Well, maybe they can be crossed out as a suspect, and they might be irrelevant to the case. Like, well, they just happen to be there, but they're not important to it. I gotta, if you're a sports fan right here, we just had the NFL draft, right? Like last week or 2 weeks ago or something like that. Well, always the last pick of the NFL draft is called Mr. Irrelevant. Because, like, imagine you're the last pick in the draft, you're probably not going to do much for any kind of team. Now, that has changed in recent years, just in case anybody is a football fan. There's something it's not new. It's probably been around for like 30 years or so, but it's called free agency. So there are people who aren't drafted who make a team and can contribute. And in fact, let's take a look at, I think it was last year's Mr. Irrelevant. That was a guy named Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy. So he is actually like a starter in the NFL, but he was the last picked in the NFL draft. Excuse me. Had to take a little sip of water there. Most of the time, I wasn't even sharing that with you. Sorry. You got to see me take a sip of water and nothing else on the screen. I was hoping you were able to look at this Wikipedia page of Brock Purdy. So 2022, he was Mr. Irrelevant, but like he contributed big time to the San Francisco 49ers, right? And then he suffered an injury. Yeah. So Mr. Irrelevant, not easy for me to say. let's get to this next one. I got a lot of things going on here. Make sure I share it. All right. The next one is typhus. Typhus. And that is going to be mentioned in the article we will be reading probably tomorrow. But typhus in 2023 in the United States, like you probably won't hear of too many people dying from typhus. As I was talking, I don't want to point this person out, but they came up to me. Oh, maybe I will. I don't know. But Ethan came up to me after class and saying, "Hey, did you know Anne Frank died of typhus?" I was like, "Hey, guess what? We're going to be talking about that." So yeah, she does. That's what eventually gets her, what eventually kills her. I mean, it's the Nazis who kill her, but the way she died was from typhus in this concentration camp. And what happens, I'm not sure if you know this, but I think we've talked about it in here, like humans are kind of dirty, right? Like if we're taking a shower every day and we have access to clean water, then we're not that dirty. But take a couple days without a shower, living in close quarters, you don't have good sanitation. The Nazis did not care about the well-being of people in concentration camps. So you had hundreds, if not thousands of people squished into these like bunks, awful conditions. You have thousands of people probably not eating that much, but still having to use the bathroom, stuff like that. Things get mixed up. You got a lot of people in really dirty conditions. Well, guess what? Rats, lice, all of that stuff, they find lots of places to feed. Sometimes they'll feed on people, right? Lice, bed bugs, those kind of things. And unfortunately, typhus is spread through lice. And you can see the definition there, a highly contagious disease that is spread by lice. So in the United States, typhus is not really something that we have to worry about. If someone should happen to contract typhus, then they go to the doctor and they get proper medication. But of course, in a concentration camp, they didn't really care if people were getting sick. So unfortunately, that's probably what killed Anne Frank and her sister, and I think her mom as well. So at Bergen-Belsen. Super sad. I don't even know if I have oh yeah, I do have a sentence, but typhus is probably what killed Anne Frank, unfortunately. Again, it was the Nazis that killed her. She wouldn't have been in that camp if it wasn't for them, but that's ultimately what got her. All right, the next one, liaison. And the way I think of liaison is like it's a go-between. We got an ad of some sort there. Probably mess with me a little bit. I don't think I can make it any bigger. But a person who serves as a connection between individuals or groups, a go-between. So I really like that definition. You have two separate things, and in the middle, you need someone to like communicate for some reason. So the sentence I have here is the school district hired a liaison to do home visits. So there are some times where students don't come to school regularly. So maybe there is someone, could be law enforcement, but it could be a social worker or something. I think we actually do have somebody at this school who is a liaison. So they will go do home visits, make the parents aware of the laws and stuff like that. So just someone to help facilitate, it's kind of a big word, information between two different parties. Liaison. I don't know, maybe, I guess you could have, like if a couple is getting divorced and maybe the lawyers aren't communicating or whatever, you might have a liaison to go back and forth to explain things or something like that. All right. Couple more here. Hopefully this is helping. Hopefully this is like your brain is just like getting filled with new vocabulary. You're like, liaison, I know what that is now. Hopefully you didn't know it before. Hopefully you're learning a lot from this lesson, because that's kind of the goal of school, is to teach people things. So hopefully you learn a little bit of something with every class here. All right, the next one is subversive. Let me share that. Subversive, a lot of times when you see sub, think underneath. So like submarine, substitute teacher. They're not like the real teacher. They're not as awesome as the real teacher. They're a little bit below. Maybe some substitutes are better than me, probably. But Subversive means something is in power, and then this person is trying to destroy that a little bit at a time and kind of secretly. Subversive. So I have a sentence here for you, somewhere down here. Oh yeah. What about like social media? TikTok. There you go. So some people in the United States government, think that TikTok might be subversive, like it's China trying to ruin like American society, but they would be doing it in a secret way, subversively. All right, the website was subversive because it tried to get young people to attack the government. Just putting in those little hints there, subversive. So something's in power, and then you got maybe one person or a group of people secretly trying to like chisel away at their power. That would be subversive. Hopefully that helps. I think we read we didn't even read the definition. That might help too. In opposition to authority or government, secretly breaking the rules. Secretly. So for some reason, this got cut off, but that should have been traitor. Traitor. There you go. Traitor. Benedict Arnold. Not sure if you ever heard of that guy, but he was a guy for fighting for the United States, but secretly a traitor and helping the British during the Revolutionary War. All right, what's the next one here? Instrumental, I think. I just saw the sentence I used. Instrumental. Okay, helpful. Useful. It's not too bad. Helpful or useful. More sports here. You can see, I don't know, let's pull up this picture here. It looks like the Jets playing the Eagles, maybe. Jets are trash, so even though they have Aaron Rodgers now. But maybe you could say like a good diet was instrumental to the Jets having a successful year. Maybe they had like a new nutritional program, gained a bunch of strength or something like that. But here's the sentence that I actually thought of. I think it might be a little bit better. Working out every day was instrumental to her finding success. So every day, working out. You need to take a rest day every so often, but maybe this person thought that was a key to their success, working out every day, a good diet every day. I think these lessons are instrumental in helping you build your vocabulary, because we are going on quite long, but this might be the last word. I don't know. Let's see here. No, we got two more, but literally my favorite one to pronounce, let's make it bigger here. Hopefully I'm sharing this with you. Can make it even bigger. Posthumously. Posthumously. Anytime you see post, or in this sense it's pronounced post, posthumously, anytime you see post, it means after. So you could take a pre-test, that's before the lesson. You might take a post-test, that's after a lesson. So post. You like hear pre-game, you don't hear post-game interview. Yeah, you do sometimes. So post means after. So posthumously means something happens after their death. So think of an autopsy. It's when a person is kind of like cut up and stuff to investigate like why they died. You always want to have that autopsy done posthumously. That would be very painful and not really helpful if it was done before the person died. Like it would probably contribute to their death. All autopsies should be performed posthumously. That only makes sense. But I think I have, maybe I don't have a sentence for you. Yeah. No, I don't have a sentence for you. But if you remember yesterday when we talked about Mr. Dussel, he was going to marry a woman named Charlotte. And once he died, Charlotte wanted to have a ceremony posthumously. So after Mr. Dussel died, she wanted to have a wedding ceremony posthumously, just to prove like, hey, we were going to do this if it wasn't for the Nazis. Blame the Nazis for pretty much everything in World War II, right? Sort of. Might be simplifying things too much. All right, the last one right here is shadowed. Let me make that a little bit bigger for you. Shadowed. Just Another word for following. You see there are actual shadows there, but this means mostly like followed. And a lot of times when you start a new job, the first thing you're going to do is shadow somebody. Yeah, shadow can be a noun, when the sun is shining, but it also can be a verb. It means to follow. And I have a sentence for you. Got the Olive Garden opening soon. Not sure if anybody cares about that. If you've ever had the Olive Garden, I mean, I made the paper yesterday, like, oh, the Olive Garden. Like, we got one in Portland. It sucks. It's not that great. I got a buddy. His name is Irene. He is from Italy. He came to visit last year, and he was like, I got to try this Olive Garden thing because it's supposed to be Italian. But anyways, fettuccine Alfredo. I mean, I love this stuff, but it's not actually Italian. With like that white sauce, the fettuccine noodles. Americans invented it. Like if you go over to Italy, unless you're in a touristy place, like they don't even have fettuccine Alfredo. It's an American thing. Anyways, I shadowed an experienced server on my first day at the Olive Garden. So you might do that if you're learning how to do something. For the first couple of days, you might shadow someone who knows a lot about the job. All right, that is it for today. 21 minutes. But hopefully by now you're like, I got everything done. Hand it in, put it in the grade book sometime next week. All right. Then we will probably finish up Anne Frank. One class finished already. Super sad, be honest, at least for me, because I got a heart. Maybe some people, I don't care. But I got a heart. First time I watched it with another class, it was class E. It was like, oh my God, that was really rough. For me, I don't think it affected too many other people, but I got a heart, like I said. All right. And then we'll get into a little crash cross